Redirected this witness. All right, Attorney Durso, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mandel.
Good afternoon.
I want to ask you a little bit about the number of the pieces of evidence that you test. I know there was a question on cross-examination about the number of items that were tested. Is the number of items tested, is that up to the lab? How does that work?
Yes, depending on the type of crime committed, we do limit some of the items that are tested depending on the crime. So like, for instance, a burglary, typically we only test 2 pieces of evidence for a burglary. For homicide, we do not limit the number of testing overall. However, we do try and prioritize evidence so that we're only doing a certain amount at a certain time.
So in other words, a submitting agency wouldn't submit 300 pieces of evidence at once if it was a murder investigation?
No, not typically.
Okay. So typically it would be how many pieces of items at any given time?
There's no like steadfast number, but if they want to, they kind of talk with case management or the sections on trying to prioritize which evidence would be the most probative to test first.
Okay. So I want to ask you a little bit about States 149. Counsel went through the report with you. That's the amended DNA report, which I believe was your testimony is a mirror of the original DNA report, subject to that one little change in the beginning.
Yes, the one typo of the name of the evidence.
So whenever there's a typo, you would issue a different report?
You would issue, yeah, you would call it amended with the same number of the report.
What happens if you found there was a statistical error in your reports? What would you do then?
Also issue an amended report with the correct statistic.
Showing you States 149. Page 2 of 149. Specifically directing your attention to submission 4-1. On 149, it indicates that was positive for the presence of blood, does it not?
Yes.
Okay. And if we go to the corresponding next page, page 3 of 149, 4-1, that would have been a swabbing. I'm pointing here at 4-1, swabbing, reddish brown stain near bottom seam of trash bag?
Yes.
Okay. And counsel had indicated to you that Mr. Morales was eliminated there,
Yes, he is.
but under the column that says Christine Holloway, what does that mean, consistent with the source?
So basically, the profile that I developed was a single source female profile, and when I compared Christine to that female profile in the evidence, she was consistent with being the source of that evidence.
I'm going to direct your attention to States 150. It's the supplemental DNA report. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Now, with regards to submission 16-1-3, is it fair to say that that swabbing was positive for blood?
Presumptive test for blood, yes.
With regards to submission 19-2, 19-3, 26-1, were those also presumptive positive for blood?
Yes.
26-1-1, 26-1-2, were those also positive for blood?
Presumptive, yes, blood.
And 26-2 and 26-2-1, were those also positive for blood?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to direct your attention to page 3 of the report. Those same submissions that counsel went through with you with regards to this this piece of evidence, Mr. Morales was eliminated from all of those, correct?
He cannot be eliminated from 2 of them.
Okay. With regards to 16-1-3, can you tell us what type of profile was generated there?
That was a single source female profile.
Okay. And that was consistent with Christine Holloway?
Correct, yes.
And 19-2, again, the type of profile generated there?
A single female profile, which was consistent with the Christine Holloway.
And 19-3, again, a reddish brown stain, exterior right front of side of shirt. What type of profile was generated there?
Single source female.
26-1-1, a tissue-like material, back heel left of left sneaker. What type of profile was generated there?
Single source female.
And again, consistent with Christine Holloway?
Consistent with the source, yes.
26-1-1-2, what type of profile was generated there?
Single source female.
And 26-2-1, what type of profile was generated there?
Single source female.
And again, consistent with Christine Holloway?
She cannot be eliminated from 2612 and 2621, consistent with the source.
Now, what's the difference between cannot be eliminated and consistent with the source?
Cannot be eliminated is, again, when you have a partial match between the evidence and the known sample. So we didn't detect all of her types and where we had results.
States 151. Now, states 151, I want to direct your attention to 17-5. Again, 17-5 and 17-6, those were positive for blood, presumptive presence of blood.
Correct, yes.
In 20-3 and 20-4, positive for the presumptive presence of blood.
Yes.
And 35-1 and 35-3, again, positive for the presumptive presence of blood.
Yes.
Page 4 of that same exhibit. With regards to 17-5 and 17-6, what type of profile was generated there?
Those were single source female profiles.
And was that consistent or inconsistent with being, when compared to Christine Holloway?
Consistent with the source.
20-3 and 20-4, reddish-brown stains on the Crocs. What type of profile was generated there?
Both single source female.
Okay. And again, is that consistent or inconsistent with when comparison to Christine Holloway's known profile?
Consistent with the source.
And finally, 35-1 on page 5, which I believe you testified to, were 35-1, 35-1, which is a reddish-brown stain. What type of profile was generated there?
Female, single source female profile.
And it was, in comparison to Christine Holloway's DNA, what was the finding?
Consistent with the source.
And 35-3, same question. What type of profile was generated there?
Single source female. Consistent with the source.
Okay. So the reddish-brown stains that were presumptively tested positive for blood, based on your findings, were consistent with the source or Christine Holloway. Is that a fair and accurate representation of what you just testified
For
to?
most of them that we just read, yes.
Okay. Now, when you have two known profiles and you're comparing those profiles to evidence submitted by the PD or swabs that were done by forensic biology and sent to you to compare, or cuttings that were sent to you for analysis, can you just explain the statistic comparisons? In other words, we heard these likely ratios where it's a high number or it's a lower number. What does that mean?
So a likelihood ratio is measuring how likely that evidence is to occur given those two opposing scenarios. So an inclusion versus an exclusion. So when you can have a likelihood ratio of anything from greater to 1 to infinity. So the higher number you get for that likelihood ratio supports more towards inclusion than an exclusion.
So I want to go through just one more thing in order with you, so I apologize for going back. I want to direct your attention to States Exhibit 149, page 5. Now, when on cross-examination, counsel asked you about a lot of the analysis that you did in relation to the knowns of Christine Holloway, the knowns of his client, Jose Morales. I want to direct your attention to 4-5. There was a swabbing of the exterior opening flap areas of the trash bag, that contractor bag. Now, the profiles that were generated was a mixture?
Yes, it was
Okay.
2 contributors.
And Christine was included?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you say that Jose Morales cannot be eliminated, directing your attention to page 5 of that report, what does that mean in relation to cannot be eliminated?
So again, he was a partial match to that profile, but when we did the likelihood ratio to see, given that evidence, how likely he was to be part of that mixture, it was 550 million times more likely to occur from him and one unknown person than if it originated from 2 unknown people.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to States 150. What do you say, State 150? So, submission 1-6-1-2-1. With regards to that submission, counsel went through that with you and indicated there was a mixture, right?
Correct.
Christine Holloway was assumed,
She was, because that was a human hair found on her, yes.
but the defendant cannot be eliminated, right? According to your report?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So my question to you is this. Going to page 5 of this report, can you explain what cannot be eliminated means in relation to the findings of your report on page 4, excuse me. Submission 1-6-1-2-1. Can you explain what that means in relation to Jose Morales?
So yes, so we already stated that I assumed her. So then my conclusion for my comparison against Jose Morales would be, assuming two contributors where Christine Holloway is one of those contributors, the DNA profile from item 16121 is at least 3.3 million times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and Christine Holloway than if it originated from Christine Holloway and an unknown person.
Okay. Now, in relation to, do you know, with regards to that particular submission, do you know, you said it was a human hair?
Yes.
Now, what does that mean in relation to the hair as opposed to, was there anything, could there have been something on the hair? What does that mean?
All I can say is that we know it was a human hair, and we developed a mixture of two people, and a human hair from one person would generate a single source profile, so there was something on that hair to make it become two people. I can't tell you what that was, but where the DNA came from, but there was two people detected in that hair sample.
Okay. Do you know what it could have been?
I wouldn't speculate to that, no.
Now, 16-1-2, submission 16-1-2, that was a swabbing of the interior heel tongue area of, did we go over that already? Oh, swabbing of the interior heel area of exterior intersole, I'm sorry, interior heel tongue area of the left sneaker. That would be what was referenced on page 3 of that report. And can you tell us if, with regards to that, what profile was generated there?
You said 16-1-2?
Yes.
That was a mixture of 3 contributors, with at least 2 of them being male.
And was Christine Holloway included there?
Yes, she was included in that mixture.
And with regards to the defendant, he cannot be eliminated. What does that mean in relation to your findings in your report on page 5?
That was a partial match, and assuming 3 contributors, the DNA profile from 16-1-2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
Okay. Now I'm going to direct your attention to states 151.
Would that be Exhibit 150?
151, yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
No, submission, supplemental report, DNA report number 2, page 5, submission 17-4. According to the report the counsel went over with you, it was a swabbing of the interior back left sleeve of the shirt.
Yes.
And what type of profile was generated there?
That was a DNA profile that was consistent with being a mixture of at least 3 contributors, with 1 of them being male.
And with regards to Christine Holloway, what were your findings?
Assuming 3 contributors, the profile from 17-4 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Christine Holloway and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
And with regards to the defendant, it says cannot be eliminated in relation to your likelihood ratio. Can you explain that?
Yes, so it was a partial match. When I did the likelihood ratio, being a 3-person sample, the DNA profile from 17-4 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
And it's billions with a B?
Yes, 100 billion. Yeah.
All right. Now, 18-1-3 in that same report, swabbing of the unstained area top surface of the puzzle base. What type of profile was generated there?
That was a DNA profile, 2 contributors.
And was Christine Holloway included in that?
Yes.
And how about the defendant?
He was a cannot be eliminated,
And based on your likelihood ratio, what does that mean?
assuming 2 contributors, it's 270 million times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals.
Now, I want to direct your attention to 18-3-2, which is reported as a swabbing of an unstayed area of exterior bath time book. Excuse me.
Yes.
Now, in relation to this particular submission, what type of profile was generated?
A mixture of 3 contributors.
Was Christine Holloway included?
Yes.
And the result for the defendant cannot be eliminated. What does that mean in terms of your likelihood ratio?
Assuming 3 contributors, the DNA profile from 832 is at least 7.2 million times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
We're almost done. I want to direct your attention to submission 20-1. Now, with regards to 20-1, can you tell us what type of profile was generated there?
That was a mixture of 3 contributors with at least one of them being male.
And with regards to the defendant, he could not be eliminated there. What does that mean in relation to your likelihood ratio?
Assuming 3 contributors, the DNA profile from 20-1 is at least 100 million times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
And lastly, submission 20-2, which is a swabbing of an unstained area of interior of the Crocs shoe. Profile generated there, what was that?
A mixture of 3 contributors.
And with regards to the defendant, he cannot be eliminated. What does that mean in regards to your likelihood ratio?
Assuming 3 contributors, the DNA profile from item 20-2 is at least 46 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Jose Morales and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals.
And that's billion with a B?
Correct, yes.
May I just have a moment, Your Honor? I want to direct your attention to, do you have DNA report, the initial DNA report, or I guess the amended DNA report up there?
Yes.
Okay. States 149.
Just tell us what.
149.
149, thank you.
Counsel asked you about fingernail clippings and testing done on the fingernail clippings. And in relation to those particular submissions, I believe those were submissions 1-5-2-2, 1-5-2-3. With regards to the analyzation that you did on those submissions where Christine Holloway was assumed and Jose Morales was eliminated, can you speak to whether or not the DNA can be present there that you won't necessarily detect? Is that something that happens? Why was those areas examined? I guess is my question.
So the fingernail were tested because they were submitted by the OCME, and I don't know who requested, if it was the PD or if the forensic biology thought they would be should be tested. So they sent them to DNA, and then I tested them and developed a single source female profile. That's all I could detect there. That doesn't mean that there isn't other DNA there, but all I could detect was the single source female profile.
If there was a large amount of blood, red blood-like substance on the fingernails, could that interfere with potentially detecting other DNA on fingernails?
That is possible because blood has so much DNA that if you have a blood stain with just a little bit of touch or trace DNA, that can outcompete that smaller amount of DNA, and just all you'll detect is the larger amount of DNA there.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Attorney Gavin?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep.
Hi, Ms. Mandel. How
Hello.
are you?
Good.
I have a couple of questions for you. It looks to me like on the testing summary of some of the reports, the testing summary shows screening, and then there's a column that says positive, or I guess it could be negative too.
Correct, yes.
And that's a screening from the biology section of the lab for the presumptive test to determine the presence of blood. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And that's a different section of the lab than your section of the lab over at DNA analysis, correct?
Yes, we kind of intertwine a little bit. I am competent in doing KM testing. We just to make the process more efficient. When they're collecting the sample, they do the KM testing there. But that's why I have them on my reports, because I am proficiency tested twice a year and do perform KM testing when needed.
Tell us, do you know somebody named Jennifer Nelson?
I do, yes.
Who's Jennifer Nelson?
She was the forensic biologist on some of the evidence in this case.
Right. And she was in the biology section, and she tested for the presumption of blood on a variety of different pieces of evidence that were submitted by the agency. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So when your report has the column and it says presence of blood plus plus, was that generated from the findings of Ms. Nelson?
Yes, that is correct.
Right. And she was here and testified yesterday here. So would you agree that you didn't do any of the presumptive blood testing?
I did not do any of the testing.
And that was all done under the KM, the Kasselmeyer test that you discussed?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware, as she has testified to, all the limitations with the Kasselmeyer test regarding the inability to determine the difference between human blood and animal blood for one fact, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Right? And then there's also the risk of false positives with that test when the oxidizing agents like copper and nickel can cause false positives. Is that correct?
That can happen, yes.
And then you just basically took the submission and you indicated based on what Ms. Nelson's findings were incorporated in your report. Is that right?
Yes, I get the worksheets from Jennifer Nelson for my case file to show what tests she did, and then I reported those out.
So many of the findings in the reports that were submitted, I'm not going to go through all of them, indicate that there's a mixture of 3 contributors. Do you recall seeing that in your reports?
Yes, I do have some 3 contributors.
But for you only had the known standard, the known sample from Christine Holloway, and you had the known from Jose Morales, correct?
Correct.
So you were unable to identify who the 3rd contributor was, though it's notated in all your reports.
Yes, no other knowns were submitted for me to make comparison to.
Right. It would be guesswork on your part, and you don't guess.
Correct, I do not guess.
Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Just one brief question. With the DNA profiles that were generated compared to the submissions that were given to you that were positive for blood, is it possible that that blood was animal blood in relation to the DNA that was analyzed?
Objection, Your Honor. She didn't test it, so it causes for speculation on her part. She couldn't answer that.
Only if she has a foundation, counsel. So sustained at this point, unless you want to lay a foundation.
If animal blood was part of the DNA that was on some of these submissions, would it have been consistent with or inconsistent with any of the known profiles that you compared them to?
Well, I can't testify that the blood was only human. I don't know if there was animal blood there because we didn't test for it. We didn't test for human blood either, so I just...
But you can't testify to the fact that the DNA that was the DNA that was submitted to you compared to the knowns was consistent with Christine Holloway's blood on Christine Holloway's DNA on a number of those submissions.
I did develop human DNA profiles that I compared to knowns from humans.
Thank you. No further questions.
So, all that means is you knew it was Christine Holloway's blood or Jose Morales' knowns, and you compared it to the samples and to see what the comparison was.
Yes, Christine Holloway's known was from blood, and Jose Morales' known was from a buccal swab, a cheek swab.
Right, and taken by the police and submitted to the lab, and you used that. And Mike Morganti used it to go ahead and develop the profile for Christine and the profile for Jose Morales, which was then utilized by you in the comparison to compare the submissions from the agency.
Correct, yes.
Thank you very much.
Anything further?
And you compared the knowns to the swabs submitted to you by forensic biology.
I did, yes.
No further questions.
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Thank you. Thank you. Please watch your step.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so court will
Thank
accept.
you, Ron.
You're welcome. Thank you. Court will accept into the record as full on behalf of the state. No objection by defense. 159, 160, and 161, and we can move forward. Attorney Dorso.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell us who you work for?
Sure. Work for the FBI here in Connecticut
And how long have you been working for the FBI?
since December of 2010.
And what are your current responsibilities?
Currently, I'm assigned to the New Haven Violent Crime Task Force. Specifically, I do my duties as a CAST agent.
Now, what is a CAST agent?
CAS stands for Cellular Analysis Survey Team.
And what does that mean? What does the CAS team do?
So CAS is a group of approximately 90 special agents and task force officers who are specifically trained in analysis of historical cell site information, call detail records, and other geolocation files. We provide there's three real things we do. One, we work in emergency and exigent situations when we're trying to find or locate a phone associated with a missing person, a kidnapped person, a violent fugitive, things of that nature. Two, like we're going to talk about here today, we analyze historical records associated with crimes, hypothetically a murder. And three, we provide training to our state and local and federal partners is what we do, and provide testimony like I'm doing today.
And give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a little bit of a background about you as an FBI agent. What did you have to go through, training, experience, things like that?
So I was selected out of my division to go through the CAS training pipeline. And the CAS training pipeline is approximately 300 hours total. And it takes about 2.5 years to complete. And it's a multi-phased training pipeline. At each stage, you're getting selected and tested to go on to the next phase. Quickly, the first round of training is a CAS Basic, which is just a 3-day introduction course to what all cell site analysis is, what kind of records are out there that we can get from search warrants and other legal process, and how can we exploit that data. If still interested, we go on to a CAS Advanced course, which is a little more intense. It's 4 days. It's more in depth about everything we just talked about, with a culminating exercise and test that you're graded on. If you make the passing grade, you're selected to go to CIRA, which is C-I-R-A. It's a critical incident readiness assessment, and that's an intensive 3-day command post style exercise where every morning you have a scenario and every evening you have a scenario, and you're graded on how you analyze the records, produce products, and brief those products. Finally, if you're selected to go on, you go to our 4-week certification course, which is broken into 2 parts, Cert 1 and Cert 2. Cert 1, the first week is a real thrilling intro into radio frequency technology for a week. And that's provided by the Florida Institute of Technology and professors that work there. The second week, we go into, we actually have the service providers, representatives from them, the Verizon's, AT&T's, and T-Mobile's. They'll come in with their engineers and their legal compliance team, and they'll teach us about how their networks operate, how they function, as well as what all records are available to obtain, and what legal process is required to obtain those records. Finally, the third week is a hands-on week on our GAR, which is a Gladiator Autonomous Receiver. Long story short there, this doesn't come into play in this case, but a GAR is the ability, it's equipment that we have that gives us the ability to drive around with that equipment with sensors and antennas where we can record the signal strength from certain towers, our GPS locations. We're able to take that data, throw it in software, and actually map the actual cell coverage of a cell tower. And finally, the last week is a moot court case where we take a case from its infancy, we analyze records, develop a report, and testify to it in a moot court setting. And finally, there's a final exam. And if we pass that, then certified as a CAS member.
And before you joined the FBI, tell us a little bit about your employment prior to the FBI.
Sure. I worked very briefly at the Middlesex Sheriff's Office up in Middlesex County, Massachusetts, for about 1.5 years. I was also a intelligence officer in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years out in San Diego.
And how many people are part of CAS right now? Do you know?
Approximately 90 right now.
And that's across the country?
That's across the country. So each field division for the FBI, you have 56 across the country. Each division, I believe, has at least one, with the exception of, I think, 6 offices that don't have any.
Now, can you please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a little bit about what historical cell site analysis is?
Sure. So we talk about call detail records. And if you can think of your old school phone bill, where certain information on there was the date and time of a call or text, the third party involved, the duration of that call or text. Well, call detail records also have a little more information that's important to us. It includes the cell tower and sector used to do that, to make that call or text. So we take that those call detail records, and we marry those up with cell tower lists that we can obtain from the service providers. And those cell tower lists tell us the physical place on Earth where that tower is located and how those sectors are oriented on the map. And we're able to take those 2 pieces of information and map that out and conduct our analysis.
And what's the purpose of historical cell site analysis?
The purpose is to determine if a device was in a geographic area at a certain time of interest, at a certain location of interest.
And how many times have you performed a historical cell site analysis?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds of times.
And what types of cases have you used this in?
I've used it in missing persons, kidnappings, fugitives, homicides, serious assaults, carjackings, all things of that nature.
Now, you explained a little bit about call detail records. Are they different today than they were years ago?
They can be.
Okay, and in what way?
It's just the way the service providers document and maintain the records. They change over time. Nothing's always the same. Everything changes. So as things progress and technology progresses, those records differ throughout time.
Is there a lot of demand for CAST services?
There is.
And about how many times do you think there's requests put in for CAST in a typical year?
Well, for me individually, since the beginning of this fiscal year in October, I've looked at over 50 state cases, approximately 20 federal cases, and that's just me.
And when you say state and federal cases, what types of agencies do you deal with usually?
Well, predominantly we deal with our state partners, but we also do FBI cases. We help the DEA and ATF, basically all state, federal, and local law enforcement.
Now, based on your training and experience, is cellular telephone analysis, is it reliable?
Yes.
Why?
Because the records that we use to conduct our analysis, they're not law enforcement records, right? They're required by law to be maintained by the service providers, and the service providers also use these records to confirm that their networks are operating appropriately. And if you remember that these businesses, the Verizons, AT&Ts, and T-Mobiles, they're conducting a business. This is a business operation, and they want to ensure that their business is operating at full function. So these records help them do that.
Does the cell phone providers provide training to the FBI CAST agents?
Yeah, so yearly we have a recertification, which is about a week long, and every year the folks from Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, US Cellular, and others come out and brief us on any developments, anything new coming to their what they're doing on their end with their businesses.
Now, have you ever testified before as an expert in the area of cell site analysis?
Yes.
About how many times?
5 other times.
And in what courts?
Connecticut state courts.
Okay. And I'm going to direct your attention to this case. Were you asked to conduct a cellular telephone analysis in this case?
I was.
And in performing your review, were you given call detail records in relation to this case?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 160. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may, thank you.
Showing you State's 160. Do you recognize State's 160?
I do.
And what is 160?
This is a CD containing the CDRs for Verizon and T-Mobile associated with Mr. Morales and Ms. Holloway.
And how do you know that this is the same CD that contained those CDRs?
It has my initial on there.
So you reviewed this prior to your testimony today?
Yes, sir.
Now, in relation to these call detail records, what did you do with these call detail records in relation to this case?
So we kind of touched on it before. I looked at the call detail records. I married those up with the cell towers from that specific time in 2019, and I was able to plot calls and cell tower interactions on a map.
Were there any other interactions with the cell towers that you were able to utilize concerning these two devices?
Yes, there was timing advance files.
And what are timing advance files?
So I guess we could get into it a little bit. So when we make a call or text, we use a tower and sector. And it might be easier to see it on a screen, but
Could the witness just speak up? I'm sorry, we get the fan on back here. We're just having trouble hearing him.
sure thing.
Let me ask you this. Can I withdraw that question and ask a different question, Your Honor? Can you just explain briefly how a call works when you make a phone call on your cell phone?
Sure. So your phone is basically a handheld computer, and it communicates with the outside world through radio frequency. And while your phone's sitting in your pocket or on the desk, it's consistently scanning the environment to find the best possible signal, so that when you need to make a phone call, text, or send an email, you can. And when you do this, this creates a transaction record, and this gets imported into the call detail record.
Okay. Now, is the when you're making a phone call, is the nearest tower usually the best signal? Can you talk about
So
that?
it can be the nearest tower, but it doesn't have to be. Your phone's going to use the best possible signal to make that call. It could be, frequently it is the closest tower, but it doesn't have to be.
And does topography have anything to do with potentially where a phone connects to?
Sure. So if you have structures in the way, say if there are windows in this building and there's a tower right outside that window, maybe a mile away, but there's a tower on the other side of this brick wall, 10 feet away, my phone would likely use the one through the window. There's less interference and it can see line of sight better.
Can you speak to how a cellular telephone doesn't drop a call as it travels from maybe point A to 10 miles down the road to point B?
Sure. So as you initiate your phone call, your phone selects that first tower. Well, once you're on the network then decides what towers you're going to move to as you travel.
Now, in relation to this particular case, in addition to the call detail records for Mr. Morales and Ms. Holloway, were you provided any background information with regards to this particular investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what time period did you analyze?
I believe it was November 29th of 2019 to December 2nd of 2019.
And did you prepare a presentation to speak to that analysis that you did?
I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you, it's been marked as State's Exhibit 161. It's been marked as a full exhibit. Do you recognize 161?
I do.
And what is 161?
This is my report.
And did you make this report in preparation for your testimony today?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to publish 159? 159 to the jury at this point in time?
You may, Attorney Durso.
Now, can you see that, Agent Carney?
Yes, I can.
Now, I'm on slide 2. Can you just briefly explain what slide 2 tells the jury?
So slide 2 is just everything we just talked about, our methodology and how we come up with and how we map these cell interactions.
And specifically, the cell phones analyzed here, again, 203-231-0269, telephone associated with Christine Holloway.
Correct.
And 203-809-2849, phone associated with Mr. Morales.
Yes, sir.
Now, slide 3, what is this telling us?
This is just a visual. These are just visual examples of the various cell towers you might see out in the environment. Commonly on the top left, you'll see the monopole tower. Frequently, you'll see that along the highway. But there's other towers you can see on the lower side of the page where they try to blend in with the surrounding environment.
Now, can you speak to slide 4, discussing the sector illustration?
Sure. So the picture on the right side is a top-down view of a 3-sector tower. And in this example, this sector is pointed due north or 0 degrees. And you can see the right and left lateral limits annotated by the right and left red arms. Generally speaking, on a 3-sector tower, each sector is about 120 degrees. And when we look at the cell tower list tell us what orientation each sector is.
Now, in relation to this particular slide, you talked about radio frequency. Does radio frequency shoot out in a straight line?
It does until it might bounce off something, yes.
You mentioned before something about a drive test analysis. Now, was that possible in this case?
Was not.
Why not?
I wasn't brought in on the case until earlier this year, actually. So it doesn't change a lot, but the networks can change. So if we do a drive test, you want to do that closer into the incident to get a true map of the actual cell coverage.
Slide. Slide 5, timing advance explanation. What is this in layman's terms?
Right, so we were going to touch on this. So in addition to what call detail records give us, which is the cell, site, and sector, on the left side of the screen you can see the cell, site, and sector, this time again oriented at 0 degrees due north. Timing advance gives us a little bit more information. It gives us an estimated distance away from the tower that the device is. So on the maps coming up, you'll see this red arc or green arc. That is the timing advance arc.
Now, with regards to the timing advance arc, when you're doing your analysis, assuming you have timing advance information on any given call detail records, would you expect to find the handheld device somewhere in that arc?
Yes, it usually is inside that arc, but it could be located outside the arc.
Now, what is this call-out box explanation on slide 6?
So when the map's coming up, you'll see these call-out boxes. There'll be red ones and green ones. They contain important information, such as item 1, which is going to be your cell tower ID. Item 2 is going to be the date of the activity. Item 3 is the time of the activity. Item 4 is going to be what type of activity it was, if it was an incoming voice, outgoing voice, the duration of that activity, and the associated phone number, the third party involved in that interaction.
Now, slide 7, what is this showing us?
So this is an overall geographic area of the area of interest, actually. On the far left side, you'll see the crime scene located at 6.5 Myrtle Ave in Ansonia, Connecticut. On the middle, towards the middle of the screen, towards the right, there's a yellow icon which indicates Mr. Morales' residence at 105 First Ave, New Haven, Connecticut. And you'll see various red and green dots. The green dots are T-Mobile cell sites. The red dots are Verizon cell sites.
Now, page 8, can you tell us what this says? This tells us about the analysis you conducted into these 2 call detail records.
Yeah, so this is a summary of cell tower interactions for phone number 0269, Ms. Holloway's, and Mr. Morales' 2849 from 12 a.m. to 10:46 a.m. on Friday, 11/29/2019. The activity you're seeing is consistent with the devices being in the area of Mr. Morales' residence at 105 First Ave, New Haven.
Now, let me ask you, with regards to the red number, the phone associated with Ms. Holloway, I see that there's timing advance measurement bars there.
Yes.
And the home is just outside those bars. What can you tell us about that?
I kind of touched on it earlier. These left and right red arms that you see in this wedge, those are guides. And that's not saying that that's a hard stop on that sector. It's just giving you a guide. So frequently we'll see sector coverage overlap that guide. And I should touch on this as well. The highlighted areas in those wedges, whether it's green or red, Those are just a depiction of what direction that sector is facing. It doesn't mean that the device is inside that interior shaded wedge.
Now, with regards to the two different colors, red and green, is the green number, the green color that's associated with 2849, is that tower being utilized by Tower 2 there? And
Yep.
same scenario for Tower 1 in the red phone?
Correct. Correct.
Now, page 9, excuse me, what does this tell us with regards to those two cellular devices?
So this is another summary slide of cell tower interactions for Ms. Holloway's 0269 and Mr. Morales' 2849 device from 10:47 a.m. to 11:36 a.m. on Friday, 11/29/2019. And what this is showing are the devices were in the area of 105 First Ave in New Haven and may travel northbound to the area of Wallingford, specifically in the area of Barbarino Nissan on 505 North Colony Road in Wallingford, Connecticut.
Now, in relation to page 10, what can you tell us about page 10?
This is another summary slide for both devices from 11:36 to 2 p.m. on that Friday, again showing that devices are in the area of Barbarino Nissan.
Page 11, what can you tell us about page 11?
Again, a summary slide from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday the 29th. Both devices, this is consistent with both devices traveling southbound back to New Haven and back to the area of 105 First Ave.
Now, slide 12, what's the significance of slide 12?
So again, this is just another summary slide from 5 to 7:30 p.m. for both devices. Again, we have activity in the area of 105 First Ave. This is just showing activity consistent with both devices being in the area of Mr. Morales' residence.
Now, I noticed that it looks like there's a timing advance measurement call-out box 2, which is associated with this large arc, I would imagine?
Yes.
With regards to, how does that mirror up with call-out box 1, where there's shorter and closer to 105 First Ave? Can you explain that?
Sure. So timing advance won't necessarily use the closest, best tower for the device, as timing advance signals don't need to carry all that information during a call or a text. So a tower that can reach out to that device within a certain proximity is able to measure timing advance. So that's not unusual to have multiple towers measuring timing advance for a single device.
Now, directing your attention to slide 13, can you give us a little information about what is happening in slide 13?
Yes, another summary slide from 7:30 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. on Friday the 29th. We have activity for Ms. Holloway's device, which is consistent with her remaining in the area of 105 First Ave. And then at approximately 8:36 p.m., Mr. Morales' device moves to the south a bit, just off 95. You can see box 4 and tower 4.
Now, slide 14, what's the significance of slide 14 in relation to the last slide?
So what this slide is showing, this is activity from 8:45 to 10 p.m. For Ms. Holloway's device. This is consistent with Ms. Holloway's device leaving the area of New Haven around 8:48 p.m. on Friday the 29th and arriving sometime around 9:14 p.m. On Friday the 29th.
Now, slide 15, what does this summary tell us?
These are summary interactions for Ms. Holloway's device from 10 p.m. Friday, November 29th, to 12 a.m. early Saturday morning on the 30th. These are all timing advance sessions, which are consistent with the device being in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave in Ansonia, Connecticut.
So it's safe to say, based on this particular slide, if you were looking for the device, you would expect it to be in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave between those time periods you just mentioned.
Correct.
Now, with regards to slide 16, what can you tell us about this slide?
So this is summary cell tower interactions for Mr. Morales' device 2849 from 10 p.m. on the 29th to 12 a.m. early Saturday morning on November 30th. This is consistent with the device being in the vicinity of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then to New Haven, Connecticut.
Now, in regards to call-out box 3, 4, and 5, and 6, I see that there's a phone number 203-231-0269 mentioned in those boxes. What can you tell us about that?
Those are incoming voice calls from Ms. Holloway's phone.
Okay. So what you're saying is phone number ending in 2849 received phone calls from Ms. Holloway's phone at those particular times?
Correct.
What can you tell us about slide 17?
So this is a slide of summary cell tower interactions for Ms. Holloway's device 0269 from 12 a.m. early Saturday morning on 11/30/2019 to Monday morning at 4:25 a.m. on December 2nd, 2019.
So between the time period of 12 a.m. on Saturday morning, and that would have been November 30th, to Monday morning, December 2nd at 4:25, you would expect that the cell phone did not move until that day, right?
Correct. Based on the
4:25.
based on the data we have, yes, that's my assessment.
Okay. Now, what can you tell us about slide 18 as it relates to Mr. Morales' handheld device?
So this is a summary slide for his interactions from 12 a.m. early Saturday morning on the 30th to Monday morning at 4:25 a.m. on the 2nd. It's consistent with the device in the vicinity of 6.5 Myrtle Ave.
So what you're saying based on the quality detail records that you analyzed on November 30th, 2019, just before 1 a.m., all the way until, or at least this slide shows until 6:44 a.m., that handheld device, you would expect that handheld device to be in the area 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
Correct.
And again, pull up box 1 at 12:18 a.m. Looks like there's a phone call from Miss Holloway, or a phone call to Miss Holloway's device.
There's a phone call to Miss Holloway's device, which lasted 201 seconds. That occurred at 12:18 a.m. on the 30th. And you can see that's using the sector pointed to the southwest, sector 1, which is indicative of the phone possibly being to the southwest of that location at that point in time.
And with regards to the phone, an incoming voice phone call at 6:44 a.m. on 12/1 from Miss Holloway's phone, I see there's a 0 there. What if anything, does that mean?
So that's a phone call that likely didn't connect. In fact, that record is not on Miss Holloway's call detail records, which is indicative that phone call did not connect.
Now, I noticed there's a few phone calls here on 12/1/2019, 154:33, 155:21, 156:44, from 203-735-1885. Were you able to determine what's the significance of that phone number?
I'm sorry, which phone number, sir?
203-735-1885, or 2 a.m.
I can tell you those calls went to voicemail. As far as the number itself, I'm not sure who's,
Okay.
unless it's on a different slide.
Now, slide 19 shows what?
So slide 19 are tower interactions for both devices from 4:25 a.m. to 4:45 a.m. on Monday morning the 2nd. This is consistent with travel away from 6.5 Myrtle and ultimately into the area of Orange, Connecticut.
That's noted by call-out box 3 here.
Yes, you can see call box 3, or tower 3, I should say, on the lower right, timing advance interaction, 4:43 and 28 seconds on the 2nd.
So what you're saying is on Monday, 12/2, at 4:25, between 4:25 a.m. and 4:45 a.m., I'll direct your attention to Miss Holloway's phone. Miss Holloway's phone was moving in the area south down, I guess, Route 34, and then into Orange.
Correct.
Now, what can you tell us about page 20?
So we're looking at downtown New Haven on the morning of Monday, 12/2/2019, and these are cell tower interactions for both devices from 4:45 to 6:30 a.m. This is consistent with both devices being in the area of downtown New Haven at this time.
So both Miss Holloway and the defendant's phone in downtown New Haven.
Correct.
Now, slide 21. What can you tell us about this slide?
So for this time period, we have no data available from Ms. Holloway's phone, but for Mr. Morales, from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday morning on 12/2/2019, the device begins at 6:39 and 25 seconds a.m. up in the area of 6.5 Myrtle. You can see the zoomed-in box on the right-hand side of the screen, and then travels south and then ultimately west towards New Haven, ending with item 4 in Tower 4, which are those calls and timing events in the middle of the screen.
So on the previous slide, we had Mr. Morales' phone in downtown New Haven, and now he's all of a sudden back at Myrtle Ave at 6:30 a.m. How do you explain that?
There was just a gap in available data from the device.
Form of the question. There's no evidence before the jury that he was at 6.5 Myrtle. What this analysis shows, he was in the area where the cell phone towers were picked up. So object to the form of the question.
All right, with respect to the actual form of the question sustained, you can re-ask the question.
With respect to the handheld device associated with Mr. Morales, which was in downtown New Haven prior to, there's a gap in time until 6:30 a.m. where that handheld device is located at or near 6.5 Myrtle Ave. Can you explain why is there a gap?
So there's a gap because we just had a lack of information to map. The phone didn't interact with the network, therefore there were no records that were able to map.
Is it possible the phone could have been off?
That's a possibility.
Speculation.
Sustained, I'll strike that answer. I'll also strike the answer just for the purpose of the jury because there was an answer provided before Attorney Gavin actually objected to the prior question. So 2 questions ago, where the court struck the question, sustained the objection, you'll have to strike that answer as well. Okay, thank you. Attorney Durso.
With regards to page 22, can you tell us a little bit about page 22?
Yes, these are, again, cell tower interactions for Mr. Morales' device ending 2849 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday, the 2nd of December in 2019. Again, we don't have any data at this point during this time period for Ms. Holloway's device. But the data we see on the map is consistent with the device. Starting in the area south of 6.5 Myrtle Ave, you can see in tower labeled 1 at the middle of your screen in box 1. That's a timing advance interaction at 9:06 a.m. And then box 2 is back in the area of 6.5 Myrtle at approximately 9:37 and 24 seconds.
Now, this in call detail box, call out box 2 at 9:37 a.m. It appears that the phone associated with the defendant makes an outgoing voice call to Ms. Holloway's phone.
Correct.
The last 3 seconds.
That's correct.
Could you tell from the call detail records whether or not it went to voicemail or if it was answered?
I could not. I could tell you that that call is not on Ms. Holloway's call detail records.
What can you tell us about slide 23?
So for Mr. Morales' device, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday, December 2nd, we have activity here starting at Tower 1 in Box 1 at 12:37 p.m., followed by 1:06 p.m. and then 1:08 p.m., and then Box 2 to the south of that location in the center of your screen. You have a timing advance interaction at 2:08 p.m. This is consistent with the device traveling away from the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave south.
So with regards to call out box 1, if you were looking for the device associated with the defendant at around between 12:37 and 1:08 p.m. on 12/2, you would expect to find it in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave.
That's correct.
And subsequent to that, at 2:08 p.m., we have a timing advance measurement south of that, which led you to believe the device was moving.
Correct.
Slide 24, what can you tell us about slide 24?
So this is a summary of cell tower interactions for Ms. Holloway's device ending 0269 from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on December 2nd, 2019. This area is north of Ansonia and generally in the area of the Naugatuck State Forest.
So prior to this slide, there was no other information from Ms. Holloway's phone?
Correct.
So what can you tell us about the information that you received now with regards to this phone at this time period?
This is consistent with the device being in the area of that highlighted portion, which is on a Google Maps zoomed in photo there, image on the top right of the screen. It's consistent with the device being in the area of Naugatuck, specifically the Naugatuck State Forest.
And we've been communicating with cell towers in that area at the time.
Correct.
And finally, 25, what can you tell us about 25?
These are cell tower interactions from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday the 2nd for Mr. Morales' device ending 2849. Again, he's hitting the tower in the area of his known residence at 105 First Ave in New Haven, Connecticut.
And again, looks like at 5:49 p.m., again at 6:59 p.m., there are outgoing phone calls, to Ms. Holloway's telephone.
That's correct.
If you don't think. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Attorney Gavin, cross-examination.
I'm going to ask to impose on the state because the disc has the report on it rather than us going through page by page, what Special Agent Carney just referred to.
Attorney Durso, do you have any objection to asking your staff to assist with the defense on the CD there with respect to displaying it as an exhibit for the jury?
That's fine. Can I have a moment, Counsel?
Of course. Thank you. Yes. Our 15-minute afternoon recess. We have to give the staff a break. Thank you. Court is taking. There's no one to know when we're moving.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm just going to go one page at a time. Just
Tell me when you're moving.
okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate. We're going to use the the computer to play this, and I appreciate the state's courtesy in that regard.
All right, great.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much. Agent Carney, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here with us. Sir, do you have a copy of your cast report?
I have it on my screen.
Okay. We're going to go through it just like Attorney Durso did. I just have a couple of questions for you as well.
Okay.
If you could please, Ms. Meehan, if you could just go to the next page for me. There we go. Okay. So you're a special agent. You're well-trained, and you are certified and to go ahead and prepare these CAS reports regarding cell tower analysis, cell usage analysis. Is that fair?
It's fair to say yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I want to know, when did you get involved in this case?
I got involved with this case early this year.
In 2025?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I thought you had said that you couldn't do the drive test analysis because maybe the tower locations have changed over the last 5 years, or the technology has changed over the last 5 years.
That's
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So how did you get involved? Did the Ansonia Police Department contact you? Did the State's Attorney's Office contact you?
The state's attorney's office contacted me.
Okay, and was that Attorney Durso or Attorney Stein?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and you would agree with me that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, if they can help out in investigations by local prosecutors or local law enforcement, that they'll assist if they can?
Sure.
Sure. You get a call and say, we need your help, and the FBI is there to help.
Yes.
Okay, great. And that happened in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I just want to make sure I have this all framed correctly. So you get contacted here in 2025 about this incident from 2019, so it's about 5 years ago, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, and I know that you went ahead and you were given some cell phone records to go ahead and interpret. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And did somebody give you a broad basis in regard to what happened before you commenced your investigation in regard to what the claim was here?
Well, the case is widely known, so I did have a small background, knowledge of it.
Okay. So when you say it was widely known, it was publicized.
Well, the FBI had a role in it, too, at some point early
Okay.
on. I knew that.
Did
But I
you
knew-
participate in that role?
I did search for a device in the woods with a large party of people back around the time frame of the incident.
Okay.
Yes.
In the 2019-2020 timeframe?
Yes, that was a limited role there, yes.
Okay. Other than that, searching in the woods in 2019-2020, did you have anything else to do with the case?
No.
Okay. And do you know who Dave Dillon is?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Sure. Who's Dave Dillon?
He's a retired agent.
Yeah. Okay. He was a colleague of yours, correct?
He was.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Now, so you do a little bit of work a few years ago. You get contacted by the State's Attorney's Office, and they say, we would like you to go ahead and do the CAST report so that we can present it here in front of the jury today.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And you say, sure, I'll go ahead and do what I have to do in that regard.
Yes.
Okay. And were you prepped a little bit about what the state's theory of the case was?
Minimally. I mean, I knew that the victim was located in a residence.
In a residence.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll go through this with you. There are specific notations in the report, and I'll show it to you. Things like 6.5 Myrtle Avenue in Ansonia, 105 First Street in New Haven, Barbarino, the car dealership that are notated in the reports. And I take it you didn't get those just off of the cell phone records, but rather somebody had to advise you the significance of those addresses.
No, yeah, those locations were given to me as points of interest, yes.
I'm so that microphone doesn't amplify.
Okay.
It just records. So if you could just keep your voice up.
Sure. Those locations were given to me as points of interest.
Point of interest. So just tell us what that means. Was that when you met with the State's Attorney's Office?
Yes.
Okay, it's fine. There's no tricks here. I'm just trying to figure out that if you had a cell phone report in regard to activity on the cell phone, it wouldn't necessarily say that you were near Barbarino car dealership or you were at 105 First Avenue in New Haven, correct?
Well, depending on the tower interactions, it could be. But knowing those locations are there, yes.
You incorporate it in the report. We'll go through it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say that you didn't, for example, take Barbarino out of the blue and put it in your report.
No.
No, you had information that was significant, correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay. We're doing fine. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, so you get contacted earlier this year, and you know that there are two cell phones that were at issue, Christine Holloway's and Jose Morales. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you obtained the records from the carriers. One was Verizon, the other was T-Mobile. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how did you get those records?
They were provided to me by the State's Attorney's Office.
Great. Okay. And you used that and incorporated that in your analysis?
That's correct.
right? You didn't have to go to Verizon or T-Mobile and execute search warrants to get them. They were already compiled for your consideration.
Correct.
Great, okay. This means, yep, now we have the cell towers. So all this is pictures of different types of cell towers, right?
Yes.
And sometimes they try to hide it like a cactus or a tree or something along those lines, but it really is utilized as a cell tower.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we go to the next page? And the sector illustration just shows that the towers are always triangular, are they not?
No. They have omnidirectional towers, which are 360 coverage. Is that what you're
Okay.
asking? And you have 3-sector towers, such as this one that you see on the screen.
Okay, the 3-sector towers are very popular, correct? I mean, we see them all over the place as we drive around.
I would say they're more common.
Yeah, okay, all right. So just on that sector illustration, we're going to move on for a second. You see that the triangular portion in the center of the illustration,
Yes.
and that would be the tower, correct?
Yeah, that's a top-down view of a cell tower.
Right, if you were looking down from above at the cell tower, and then there is the sector illustration, and that indicates between the red lines, there's an arrow pointing north.
Correct.
Right, that's where you would expect to see activity, correct?
That arrow pointing north is just the direction that sector's, the middle of that sector where it's facing.
Right. I'm not saying that north is significant here, but the red arrows are the range within the tower that you would expect to find activity, correct?
Correct. Those left and right arms, those red arms are guidelines for where that cell sector coverage is.
Right. And I think you just testified for us that a cell phone could utilize a tower, and it could be outside of this illustration. It could be close by, but not necessarily within the sector.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can we go to the next page? Okay, and this shows that shaded area along the top, Agent?
Correct.
Okay, and it says a cell tower device will generally be located within the shaded arc, but may be located outside the shaded arc.
Correct.
Right? So that means that that's the reasonable range that you would expect, but it could be some deviation from that.
It's fair enough, yes.
Good, okay. Thank you. The call-out box, that's self-explanatory, so we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. The geographic overview. These were the cell towers that you had gone ahead and reviewed back for 2019, correct?
Yes, these are cell towers in the area here in 2019 for
Okay.
T-Mobile and Verizon.
Right. And we have the 6.5 Myrtle address, correct?
Correct.
And we have the Morales residence,
Yes.
right? So that's Ansonia, Connecticut to New Haven, Connecticut. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right, and there are T-Mobile cell sites and Verizon cell sites all through this illustration.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go into your analysis. So the first question I have for you is, it looks to me like this analysis started on Friday, 11/29. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the day before was Thanksgiving. Are you aware of that?
No.
You didn't know that the day before was. Okay. So let me ask you this: how do you know where to start your analysis?
I was given a time frame of interest to look at
By who?
by the state's attorney's office.
Oh, okay. So they said don't consider the day before Thanksgiving. Just start the analysis on Friday.
Correct.
Okay, and you followed that instruction.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see if we can go ahead and look. And the illustration has the red 231-0269 number and the 203-809-2849, and that was from 12 a.m. to 10:46 a.m. on Friday, 11/29. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And based on your review, what does that show?
That shows that these devices are consistent with being in the area of the residence.
The area of
105 First Ave, New Haven, Connecticut.
in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And now let's go through Friday. Okay, we're going to go slow here. Now I see that you have the summary cell tower interaction for both phones, and it goes from 10:47 a.m. to 11:36 a.m. Is that correct?
Could we change the slide? There we go. Sorry.
I think we're on 9. Chelsea, if you.
Yep, that's it.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, your time frame's correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And the notation is consistent with travel north to Wallingford area.
Yes.
All right. And that's where Barbarino Nissan is. Correct.
Correct.
Were you advised that Christine Holloway and Jose Morales were at the Barbarino Nissan dealership on Friday afternoon?
I was advised to incorporate on the map Barbarino Nissan.
Okay. Okay.
I wasn't aware of all the activity that was happening there.
Oh, I know you weren't there, and I'm just asking you, was that significant in your preparation of the cast report that you wanted to notate where Barbarino was and where the cell phones were in proximity of Barbarino?
I suppose, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Did you ever see any video of Mr. Morales and Christine Holloway?
Objection as to what he saw, he was just asking for analysis. So,
Well, if you relied on it. suppose you could ask.
I did not see any video.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, so tell us, if you would, page 9, it basically appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that the direction to travel is from New Haven, from 105 First area, all the way up towards Wallingford. Is that fair?
It's fair to say.
Okay. And all of these illustrations, you can't say, for example, with specificity, certainty, and reliability that the cell phone was located at 105 First Avenue, but rather in the area of 105 First Avenue.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
In the
great.
area.
Thank you. Can we go, Ms. Meehan, to page 10? Thank you. Okay, still on Friday? Still on
Yeah.
Friday, right? Okay. And then this is from 11:36 to 2 p.m.,
Correct.
correct? All right. And it appears that you've indicated in the blue icon there, that's Barbarino Nissan located at 505 North Colony Road in Wallingford?
Yes, sir.
Correct? And it was consistent that both the Morales and the Holloway cell phone was at that area?
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Can we go next page? Okay. Now, continuing along on Friday the 29th, there is a direction to travel arrow, and it says consistent with travel south to the New Haven area. Is that consistent from the Wallingford, Barbarino Nissan area back to New Haven?
Correct.
Okay. And that's both phones, correct?
Both devices, yes.
Terrific. Thank you. Can we go to page 12? Okay. Now, Friday afternoon, we have an analysis in the latter part of the evening from 5 to 7:30. Tell me, if you can, what your analysis was in regard to Christine Holloway's phone during that time frame.
So her device during this time frame from 5 to 7:30 p.m. is in the area of 105 First Ave.
Correct. Okay. And how about Mr. Morales' phone?
His activity is consistent with the same in the area of 105 First.
Okay. So it appears that there was relocation from, in the afternoon on Friday, from Barbarino Nissan down to the area 105 First Avenue, New Haven.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Doing great. Thank you. Can we please go to page 13? Okay. Great. Now, let's go from this operative time frame of about 7:30 to 8:45 on Friday. Okay? Can you tell me what your analysis indicated during that time frame, sir?
So during this time frame, Ms. Holloway's phone remains in the area of 105 First Ave, and Mr. Morales' phone tends to move away from that area at around 8:36 p.m. And then you can see in box 4 in tower, annotated 4, at around 8:40 p.m. it's in the area of the annex in New Haven, Connecticut.
If you could just tell me, when you say the annex in New Haven, Connecticut, what does that mean?
I'm sorry, it's labeled on the map. The annex is the east side of New Haven.
Okay. So your analysis indicates that the Holloway phone stayed in the general area, 105 First Avenue, but the Morales phone started to move. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the significance of the annex area as notated in your report?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you put that designation there, the annex? Did you?
No, that's from Google Maps, automatically populated.
Okay. This is all from Google Maps?
Well, the base layer of the map is from Google Maps.
Okay. All right. Okay. It's interesting to know the FBI uses Google Maps, so that's fine.
doesn't
Thank
use
you. Can we go to the next page, page 14? Now I'm going to ask you, sir, the time frame on Friday afternoon, 8:45 to 10 o'clock in that time frame. Can we do it one by one? We'll do the Holloway phone first.
Sure. So for Ms. Holloway's device, it starts on your right-hand side of the screen, box 1, in the tower labeled 1, at 8:48 p.m. And then it arrives over in the area of 6.5 Myrtle on the left side of your screen, tower 2, at 9:14 p.m. For this time frame, there is no data available for Mr. Morales' phone.
Okay. So let's talk about the data first that we see here. Would it be fair to say, based on your analysis, that the Holloway phone left the New Haven area and traveled up towards Ansonia?
Correct.
Okay. And I know you indicated that there's no data available for the Morales phone. Could you tell me why?
The phone could have been off or
Okay.
out of service.
Okay. All right. Was there any cell tower outage or anything along those lines that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, and unlikely.
Okay. And would that mean that there was no cell phone activity by the Morales phone during that time frame?
It just means that there's a gap in time where there is no cell tower interaction for that device, which happens when there's no service. And being in an urban area like this, I would imagine there would be service, or the phone is off.
Okay. All right. So sometimes when we're driving along, right, we're talking to somebody and then we hit a ditch or an area in the roadway there's a dip and the cell tower service stops at that point.
It's terrain dependent. I mean,
Sure.
In an area like New Haven, cell service is pretty robust.
Sure. A lot of buildings and a lot of cell towers in New Haven.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so where we left off was in the area 8:45 to 10 p.m. on Friday. We have the Holloway phone in the area of Ansonia, Connecticut, but we're just not sure about the Morales phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, 15, please? Okay. Can you tell us now we have a time frame from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., which is early Saturday morning, okay? And what does your analysis indicate there?
So this is just the analysis on Miss Holloway's device. Again, from 10 p.m. Friday to 12 a.m. early Saturday morning. What we're looking at is activity consistent with the device in the area of 6.5 Myrtle.
Yeah. Okay. And we would agree, based on your analysis, if she had left the area of 6.5 Myrtle, the generalized area, and went to New Haven or Bridgeport or Hartford, that we would expect we would have seen movement from the cell tower data.
Yeah, if there's interaction with the towers.
Sure. Okay. So as far as this analysis goes, from Friday at about 10 to 12 o'clock, it appears Ms. Holloway's device is located in the area of Ansonia, Connecticut.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Could we go to slide 16, please? Okay. Now this slide 16, correct me if I'm wrong, this is analysis regarding Mr. Morales' cell phone, right?
Correct.
Right? We don't have the joint cell phones of Holloway and Morales. This is just Morales.
Yeah, and that's done because it would have been too much information on one slide. So
Okay. And then tell us in your own words, if you would. I'm talking about now Friday from about 10 o'clock till midnight. Where did your analysis indicate the Morales cell phone traveled from and to?
So on this slide, Tower 1 towards the bottom middle, at 10:10 p.m. there's an incoming voice call. From there, Tower 2 is just to the west of there at 10:12 p.m.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Tower 1, could you just tell us where that's located?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just outside Bridgeport or within the Bridgeport-Stratford line.
Okay. So last we had left off, the Morales cell phone was in the New Haven area, and now, as we see on slide 16, on Friday, late in the afternoon, evening hours, it had traveled to the Bridgeport area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So you said you saw at 10:10 you had an incoming call, and that was reflected in Tower 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then if you could just indicate the activity there, 2, 3, and 4 for me, please.
Sure. So just west of Tower 1 is Tower 2, also in Bridgeport at 10:12. There's an interaction. And then from there, 3, 4, and 5 are indicative of travel east back towards New Haven, with Tower 5 starting at 10:45 p.m.
Okay.
And then Box 6 and Tower 6, which is in New Haven, just northwest of Tower 5, at 11:37 p.m. There's a timing advance event and an incoming voice call.
Thank you. So would it be fair to say, based on your analysis, that it looks like the phone was down in the Bridgeport area and perhaps, and I know it's not located with specificity, went up I-95 north to the New Haven area?
Correct.
All right, okay. And then the last call was, I'm sorry, what time was that? 11:37 on Friday evening in the New Haven area?
Correct.
Great. Okay, thank you. Could we go to the next page, please? Thank you. Page 17. Now, this is the Holloway cell phone again,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about this because this is a big range of time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the Holloway cell phone, which is the 203-231-0269, was analyzed from 12 a.m. early Saturday morning, right,
Yes, sir.
until Monday morning, which was 12/2 at about 4:25 in the morning.
Correct.
Okay. And just in your own words, just tell us what your analysis showed regarding the Holloway cell phone.
So the data we have that's available is consistent with the device being in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave during this time period.
Okay. So early Saturday morning until Monday, how do we wind up at 4:25 a.m.?
I think if you go forward in the presentation, the following slides, there's activity after 4:25.
Okay.
So it's just a window of consistency where the device is in the area of 6.5 Myrtle.
In the area of 6.5 Myrtle and Ansonia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I would suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if the cell phone had traveled during that time frame outside of the area of Ansonia, Connecticut, and utilized, it would have been picked up by the cell towers.
Yes, if it utilized the network, it would have been picked up.
Yeah, and it would have been incorporated in your report.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Can we just turn the page? All right. And now we're on slide 18. Okay. And this is the Morales cell phone, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, we have a time frame from 12 a.m. Saturday on 11:30 to Monday morning at 4:25 a.m. on 12/2/2019, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And where was that phone located?
For the data we have, the cell tower interactions are consistent with the device during those interactions at 6.5 Myrtle Ave, or in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Ave.
Okay. Sir, are you aware that the Morales phone call was used to make a 911 call on the early morning hours of Sunday, on Sunday, which would have been the Sunday the 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that and about calling 911.
So no matter your service provider, say for instance Verizon, you're on a Verizon phone, and you call 911, no matter the service provider, if you have a better signal from a tower or a better network, it'll jump that network and make that call. Or it could use a Wi-Fi too. Okay.
So how was it that you determined that there was a phone call to 911 on the early morning hours of Sunday 12/1?
Where's the 911 call?
No, I'm asking, you're aware that there was a 911 call, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you learn it?
Through the state's attorney's office.
Through the state's attorney's office. Okay. All right. Well, let me see if I can help you here. The green box on the right-hand side, can I call your attention there? Sure. Okay. You notated on 12/1 at 1:54:33. Can I ask you just to zoom in on that box, because I don't know how to do it?
I don't think.
On the right-hand side? No? Yeah, right over there. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your assistance. Okay, so what you prepared your cast report here. Do you see the entry 12/1/2019?
Yes.
Okay, sir. And you see the entry 1:54:33 a.m.?
Yes.
Incoming voicemail?
It's
Incoming voice, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to say mail. Incoming voice. Do you see that?
Yes.
And can you tell us what number that is?
It's 203-735-1885.
Are you aware that that's the Ansonia Police Department?
Jack,
What is it?
I think there's testimony that he doesn't know what phone number that is.
I don't think he testified to that.
Why don't you ask him if he knows the phone number and the identity of the phone number? I'll sustain the objection.
Thanks. We're just going to go back to that box and that entry on the cast report, sir. Okay. Do you know what number 203-735-1885 is?
No.
Okay. How was it that you decided to put that specific number under the green box located on the right-hand side of page 18?
Came from the call detail records.
Okay. Does this include all the call detail records?
They're not all encompassing. I believe for this box, yes, that's what we have for this time frame.
Okay. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure if I understood your response. Is this the entire record? Is that your testimony of the calls that were made or received by the Morales cell phone on 12/1 in the early morning hours?
These are the calls that during this time frame. These are the calls that utilize this cell tower.
Okay. But you told us that you're aware that there was a call to 911 from your discussions with the state's attorney's office, correct?
That's correct.
And where's that located on your analysis?
It's not.
Gotcha.
It wasn't on the call detail records.
Okay. Okay. Page 19, please. Okay. All right, sir. Regarding the Holloway and Morales phone calls on page 19, which would have been the time frame 4:25 a.m. to 4:45 a.m. on Monday morning 12/2.
I can't see that just yet, sir. The screen's got it. There we go.
Page 19. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the heading here and see if you agree. We're talking about the Holloway phone and the Morales phone, and the time frame is from 4:25 a.m. to 4:45 a.m. on Monday, 12/2/2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell us what your analysis was in regard to the location of the Holloway and Morales cell phones during that time period?
So at 4:29 a.m. and 4:33 a.m., both devices are in the area in 6.5 Myrtle up in Ansonia.
Yep.
And then following that, in box 3 and annotated by Tower 3 to the southeast, at 4:43, Miss Holloway's phone utilizes that tower and sector.
And that was close to Derby Avenue, was it not, sir?
That's correct, yes.
Oh, okay. And how about, was there any indication regarding the Morales phone?
Just that one tower interaction noted in box 2, Tower 2.
So the information that we have is that the Morales phone was in the area of 6.5 Myrtle, but then the Holloway phone moved down here to Derby Avenue. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And that's, again, 4:25 to 4:45 a.m., but now this is Monday, right? 12/2?
Correct.
Okay, we're almost done. Can we go to slide 20, pretty please? I'm just going to continue the time frame because slide 20 indicates 4:45 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. on Monday, 12/2.
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell us? We'll do it one by one. Can you tell us what this analysis shows from the Holloway phone first?
Sure. For Ms. Holloway's phone, on the right side of the screen, numbered 1, 2, and 3, you have sessions at around 5:05 a.m., which are consistent with her device being in the area of downtown New Haven.
Okay, thank you. And how about the Morales phone call, the green one?
For Mr. Morales, we have 2 interactions with the network. One noted by Box 4 and Tower 4 at 5:33 a.m., and then Box 5, Tower 5 at 5:39 a.m.
So if I look at this, it seems like the interaction with the cell towers are different cell towers for the Holloway phone and the Morales phone.
Different cell towers, yes, different networks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Can we just go to slide 21? Okay, now, slide 21, this is the time frame, again, Monday, correct?
Correct.
All right, and we're going to look from this time frame from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Okay, and it looks like there's data from the Morales phone. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay, and just tell us what the Morales phone was doing.
So on the left side of your screen, there's a highlighted portion of the Ansonia area, which is zoomed in on the right side. You have Tower 1, Box 1 there at 6:39 a.m. in the area of 6.5 Myrtle, followed by Tower 2, just below that, just south of that, at 7:39 a.m. From there, we have Tower 3 and Box 3 in the center of your screen, lower center of your screen, possibly along 95 or in about that area. That's at 8:04 a.m. And then Tower 4 at 8:27 a.m. there's an interaction.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, we start off in Ansonia, Tower 1, then to the Derby area, Tower 2, then to the Orange, Connecticut area, Tower 3, and then to West Haven, Tower 4.
Correct.
Okay. Now, how about the Holloway phone?
There's no data available to map at this point in this time frame.
In this time frame, on Monday morning from 6:30 to 9 o'clock.
Correct.
Okay. Almost done. Can we go to slide 22, please? Okay. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay. Now, same day, Monday, 12/2, and now the time frame is 9 a.m. to 12. Okay. Let's start with the Morales phone at 203-809-2849. What's the analysis indicate?
So we have Mr. Morales' phone hitting a tower just in the downtown area of Derby in the center of your screen, and Tower 1 at 9:06 a.m. The next one we have is Tower 2, located in the area of 6.5 Myrtle, and that's at 9:37 through 11:37 on this date.
Okay. So if I can just call your attention to Tower 2, it indicates there 9:37, 10:37, and 11:37, and it says no measurement. Could you tell us what that means, sir?
Yeah, so the timing advance for Mr. Morales' phone, because it was 3G at the time, does not include the timing advance measurement, the bands that you saw with Ms. Morales' phone. So it's a tower sector without the distance shown.
Okay. And how about the Holloway phone?
We don't have any data available during this time frame map.
Okay. Can you tell us in this time frame from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday, 12/2, was there any call from the Morales phone to the Holloway phone?
Yes,
And when was that, sir?
that was at 9:37 and 27 seconds.
Thank you. Okay. Now, if we can go to page 23. Okay. Now I'm going to call your attention to the time frame of 12 noon to 3 p.m., please, on Monday, 12/2, 2019. Can you tell us what the analysis of the Morales phone indicated?
Mr. Morales' device began interactions around 12:37 p.m. in the area of 6.5 Myrtle, and then ended up again in the Orange area, noted at Box 2 and Tower 2 at 2:08:47 p.m. This
Okay.
is consistent with the device moving south away from 6.5 Myrtle.
From the Ansonia area, south down, that would be the Orange area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if we can just go to, let me stop you. Was there any indication in your analysis on the afternoon of Monday, 12/2, of the Morales phone being in the area going north up to Naugatuck?
No, sir.
Okay. And then if we could just go to page 24, please. Now I want to talk to you about page 24, which is the Holloway phone, correct?
That's correct.
And it seems like there are a lot of red lines there. Can you interpret for the benefit of the jury where the Holloway phone was from the time frame of 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday, 12/2/2019, please.
So we have overlapping timing advance bands during this time frame, and when we have overlapping bands, that's indicative of the device being in that area. So you see that highlighted portion in the middle of your screen, which is then blown up on the right side of the screen with Google Earth. That's an area of Naugatuck and the Naugatuck State Forest. So during this time frame, the device activity is consistent with the device being in this area.
The device being in the area of Naugatuck.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And that's up to about 3 o'clock.
We're looking at 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., sir, yes.
12, okay, all right. Did you do any other analysis after 3 p.m. on Monday, 12/2, regarding the Holloway phone?
I did not.
Okay. And was there a reason why we didn't continue into Tuesday or Wednesday?
I believe the phone died. I can't recall specifically.
You're not sure?
I can't recall.
Okay.
Right now.
But your memory is that there was no other analysis done. Is that fair?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And then will you just go to page 25, please? This is the last page. Okay. Now, this is the cell tower interaction for the Morales phone from 3 to 7 p.m. on Monday.
Correct.
Correct? And what does that indicate?
We've got 4 outgoing voice calls during this time frame utilizing a tower in the area of 105 First Ave. At 4:33 p.m., 5:49 p.m., 5:50 p.m., and 6:59 p.m.
Okay. On the box on the right-hand side, there's an outgoing voice to the number 203-231-0269. Do you know what number that is?
Yes,
What number is that?
Miss Holloway's.
Right, that's to her cell phone. And how about 6:59 p.m. as well?
Again, to Miss Holloway's.
Okay. And so this takes us now to 7 o'clock on Monday, 12/2.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And there was no other cast report or other analysis, sir, that you performed other than what we've already shown the jury here?
No, sir.
Okay. I thank you for your time. Thank you, Your Honor.
So you started talking a little bit about on cross-examination about the difference between Christine Holloway's device and the defendant's device. Can you tell us what the difference was based on your analysis of the call detail records?
Based on the call detail records, Mr. Morales' device was a 3G phone, and Miss Holloway's phone was using newer technology, being a 4G phone.
And that's why you saw the timing advance bands on her analysis as opposed to his analysis?
That's correct.
On cross-examination, you were asked a little bit about a gap in time. I think it was in relation to page 12 or slide 12, where there's no data for Jose Morales' phone. Can you just explain what the gap in time could be related to?
Yeah, we touched on it a bit. It could be related to no service for that device or the device being powered off.
So when we're talking about the gap in time as it relates to 12/2 between the time period of 4:45 a.m. and actually, let me have a moment, Your Honor. So on page 19, where you have this travel on Ms. Holloway's phone to towards the Derby Avenue area, but there's no information with regards to Mr. Morales' phone except for a timing advance measurement. What can you tell us about that with regards to the call detail records?
Really, that either the phone was not seen by the network, meaning it didn't have service, the phone was off, or it wasn't actively being used.
Because the whole idea is when a phone interacts with the network, it's creating a record with the call providers, correct?
Correct.
Now, with relation to slide 20, actually, I want to ask you a little bit about slide 18. Slide 18, on cross-examination, you were asked about a 911 call, and I believe your testimony was that when someone makes a 911 call, it may reach out to a different network provider.
Correct.
So when you looked at the call detail records for Mr. Morales' phone, and if you were given information that a 911 call was made and there was no record of a 911 call on the call detail records, what would that tell you if a phone call was made?
I would assume that device used jumped a network, used a different network, or used possibly a Wi-Fi to make the call.
And would that explain why that would not be in the call detail records?
Yes.
Now, between page 20, which we see cellular interaction between Mr. Morales' phone and the network, let me ask you this. So the green call-out boxes associated with call-out records 5 and 6, are those associated with the T-Mobile cell sites that phone would have utilized in this area of downtown New Haven?
Yes.
Okay. So the call-out box 1 and 2, where Mrs. Holloway's phone is hitting, I guess, the timing advance measurements 1, 2, and 3, those timing advance measurements were measured by those towers connected to Verizon. Is that inaccurate?
Yes, those are Verizon towers, a Verizon device.
So you wouldn't expect to see a Verizon call hitting off a T-Mobile tower, would you?
No.
And vice versa?
Correct.
The only way that would happen is if a 911 call was made and that was the strongest signal?
Correct.
Now, with regards to this slide where you see the 2 cellular devices are down in the downtown New Haven area between 4:45 and 6:30, and then slide 21 where we have information at 6:30 a.m., there's a timing advance measurement in the area of Myrtle Ave. There's a gap in time again, right?
Yes.
Between the time of downtown New Haven and the time that the cellular device connects with the network and generates some data for the network to provide on the call detail records.
That's correct.
So how do you explain that?
I would explain that as devices likely are powered off. Again, being in this area, in an urban environment, there's pretty good cell coverage. The coverage is robust. I would assume if we're getting timing advance measurements, we would see those if the phone was on, or the phone would interact with the network, receiving calls or texts. I would assume that the phone devices could be off.
May I have a moment?
Yes.
I have no questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. You're all set. All right, it's my understanding that the state's next witness is prepared for tomorrow.
I believe so, Your Honor, yes.
All right, nothing further for the jury this afternoon?
Nothing from the state.
Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are going to adjourn for the day. Once again, I'm just going to remind you of your obligations under your oath and the instructions that I gave you at the beginning of this case, okay? Enjoy your evening. Thank you so much. We'll see you back tomorrow morning for 9:30.